Sheffield United just picking up a little of late. Arsenal, well, they've just looked sensational, haven't they, this season, including in that 1-1 draw at Anfield at the weekend. The shadow players playing tonight, but the front six, it's not too weak because the front six have all played in the Premier League for Arsenal this season. There's enough experience there, in their view, to get the job done here and move into the quarter-finals. So let's have a look at the two sides tonight. Sheffield United making 7 changes, notably leaving out the Championship's top scorer James Beattie and bringing in Billy Sharp in attack. On loan defenders, Phil Bardsley and Gary Cahill are cup-tied here, so the experienced pair of Chris Morgan and Chris Luchetti return. Only Bennett, the keeper, Tong, Armstrong and Stead played in the league at Hull on Saturday. Lee Bromby was sick last night, but he's recovered in time to return to the side at right back. It is literally all change for Arsenal here. This fixture, remember, sandwiched between those massive games against Liverpool and Manchester United. 18-year-old left winger Kieran Gibbs makes his Gunners debut in an experimental defence at left back. Theo Walcott and Nicholas Bentner both scored in the Champions League last week, and the average age of this side would be under 21, but for the inclusion of ex-skipper Gilberto. The front six, as I say, have all played in the Premier League this season at one time or another. Sheffield United have the firepower on the bench tonight with Danny Webber there. For Arsenal, well, if Gavin Hoyt comes on, he'll make it the first brothers with his brother Justin to appear for Arsenal for nearly half a century. There's a little bit of a subplot going on here. We all thought Gilberto would be the captain of these youngsters tonight, but whatever's happened backstage, he isn't. The captaincy has been given, rather surprisingly, to the goalkeeper, Łukasz Fabianski, the Pole, who was the last Arsenal player to captain the side in only their second match for the club. Is he making a little point to Jens Lehmann, perhaps?
Well, I don't think anybody would doubt the reasons why Arsene Wenger has chosen his young goalkeeper to be skipper this evening rather than the much more experienced Gilberto. I heard Alan talking in the studio to Jeff earlier about the type of quality Gilberto brings, not only to the team but to the squad. He's very experienced, but also, you know, he's a fantastic pro. He'll get on with it. You know, I'm sure deep down he'll be a wee bit disappointed not to find himself in the starting 11 in Arsenal's first team, but you know, he gets an opportunity tonight, and it will be his guidance that will help a lot of these young players.
Sheffield United, well, they did beat Arsenal here at Bramall Lane last season in the Premier League. It was really the high watermark of their season. That was the day that Phil Jagielka went into goal and was something of a hero for the last half an hour, and Sheffield United hustled Arsenal out of it on that occasion. Lots has happened since then. John Stead about to get us underway. He scored Sheffield United's goal at the weekend at Hull in a 1-1 draw. Mike Dean is the referee for this one. Pitch in considerably better condition than it was for that game last December. An early touch for Michael Tong, and back to Lee Bromby. Only just made it into the starting lineup. He was ill as recently as this morning, but has told the boss he's okay. Otherwise, young Kyle Norton, I understand, would have been given his debut at right back, local boy. Gilberto with the early header, Tong knocking it down. Stead battling away. It's 4-4-2 for Sheffield United tonight. They played a 4-3-3 variation at the weekend. Here's Bromby's long throw. Launched it up. Morgan got ahead to that. He wasn't picked up at all by Arsenal.
Well, I think set pieces could give Arsenal some problems. Just look around this Arsenal side, and physically I think they might just cope. from any sort of aerial bombardment, especially if Luchetti and Morgan go up, as we've just seen there with Chris Morgan. It's a decent opportunity.
Here's Stephen Quinn, he's got Billy Sharp waiting in the middle. Cross, not of the quality required.
Well, I think that talked about the aerial ability that Brian Robson's side might just have the edge over Arsenal tonight. Chris Morgan comes from outside of the box, and in the end, Alex Song decides to go and try and meet him. Doesn't get anywhere near. Unfortunately, just the experience of Gilberto dealt with it.
Bentner is penalised. Sheffield United have started fast here. We kind of expected they would. So far, Arsenal not really settled into their rhythm, but there is only 1 minute and 48 seconds on the clock.
Well, I think this is how Sheffield United really need to play. I'm not sure how long they can sustain it for, and when Arsenal do get a grip of the game, you know they'll get the ball down and look to try and outplay Sheffield United.
Up towards Morgan again. Song won the header, playing as a central defender, more usually seen as a midfield man, of course. And Justin Boyton's central defence too. Here's Walcott, who was brilliant last week against Slavia Prague and did come on at Anfield in that big game at the weekend. He's making progress and fast now.
Well, he'd done the hard bit, hadn't he, Theo Walcott? It's an opportunity to pass wide right, which he chose to just try and run at defenders.
Diarra with the throw. It's away by Montgomery, who returns to the starting lineup after a spell of injury tonight. Carney is the player brought down, the Australian.
I think what Brian Robson is trying to do at this football club is really just change it around quite a bit from what life was like under Neil Warnock. It was always going to be difficult. There's always the aftermath, isn't it, when sides relegated, that they feel sorry for themselves. But after going down so badly at Bristol City recently.
Sharp got his toe to that as well, and Fabianski made an important save there. That could have been Sheffield United ahead.
Well, once again, it's another good example of how the home side can be a real threat from set pieces. Arsenal haven't really got the grips when that ball has come in around the penalty spot. The likes of Morgan and Luchetti and Stead in there. It's a real problem for them to deal with.
Sharp, so close. More aerial bombardment from Sheffield United, giving Arsenal a bit of an uncomfortable time early on. This is Stead. It's a loose ball, and here comes Denilson. They're looking for the quick counter-attack. It's Eduardo. He's yet to score his first domestic goal for Arsenal, Eduardo. But he can't stop scoring for Croatia, as you might have read. He will be at Wembley on November the 21st. Let's hope that game does mean something by then for England.
Well, he's a player, Eduardo, that's trying to establish himself in the Arsenal setup. Not easy, of course. A real array of talent in Arsene Wenger's squad at the moment.
This is Diaby. Denilson, lovely football. Diaby again.
Just that quick, incisive passing, isn't it? I mean, I heard Arsene Wenger talking recently about the culture within the football club, and that runs right the way down to just the scholars at the age of 16, 17 and below. You know, it's about passing and being incisive in the right areas. And we've just seen a little glimpse of that there.
Here's the corner kick. It was aimed towards Diaby, but well defended by Sheffield United. The Blades have only 5 teams below them in the Championship. It's been a disappointing start to the season, but they are only 6 points away from the playoffs positions in what is a congested division, and do have time to climb the table. Denilson. Here is Gilberto. Now Diarra. Tong brings it away. Sheffield United hero that night. They beat Liverpool here in a first leg of semi-final. Couldn't finish the job at Anfield, unfortunately, for the Blades.
Well, Billy Sharp, who struggled with goals really since his move in the summer. But he isn't too far away. He was the first to react in a very congested penalty area. The goalkeeper makes a very good save, makes himself as big as possible at the right time. Fabianski, a player that Arsene Wenger really rates highly.
Diarra down the line for Walcott. Tried to nick it away from him, and they've just about got the job done in the end. Walcott really should have had a hat-trick last week against Slavia Prague. He was denied only by a quite sensational save by the Slavia goalkeeper.
Well, that performance would have done him a lot of good. I think that just before that, I saw him in a couple of appearances for the under-21 side. He just struggled a little bit for confidence. I think Arsene sees him very much as an impact player at the moment, although he's given him an opportunity to start tonight.
Arsenal, by the way, 23 games unbeaten since West Ham United beat them at the Emirates Stadium back on April the 7th. It's a long time. Bentner, another one making rapid strides this season. That's a great ball to Eduardo. Whoa, what a goal from Eduardo! That was an absolute cannon from the Croatian.
Well, everybody, apart from the Arsenal players and the Arsenal fans, are absolutely shocked in this stadium, and we shouldn't be, really. I talked moments earlier about just the incisive play of Arsenal, and when this ball is rattled into the feet of Nicklas Bentner, he gets his head up and he really does pop a great pass into the feet of Eduardo. Question marks in terms of the room that he has. I'll tell you what, there's very little backlift here, and this has rocketed into the back of the net. Ian Bennett can get nowhere near it. And this is an experienced goalkeeper we're talking about here, and the ball has passed him before he even realises it. A tremendous strike.
What was I saying? He hasn't scored domestically for Arsenal. He has now. He's playing for his place as well in the side. He can't get into the Premier League team at the moment, but the way Arsenal are playing. But you saw there that he's the kind of player, you give him a sniff of an opportunity, he's likely to take it.
Well, his record over the last few years is very, very good in terms of scoring goals. It always takes, players coming into this country a little bit of time to settle, and he shouldn't be any different to a lot of great players that we've seen over the past 10 years that have come into the English Premier League and had to work hard to just get themselves a foothold in terms of their performances.
It was an 8-pass build-up by Arsenal, which led to the goal, but a really fine ball from Bentner, and well, just sublime finish really from Eduardo.
Probably think, probably Chris Luchetti or Lee Bromby, Chris Morgan, Armstrong at left back. They think at times you can just stand off players and think, well, once they've got it into their feet, they're probably going to look for another pass, but Eduardo's quality there, he just pulled the trigger very quickly and surprised everybody.
Diarra's not quite sure where the ball was. Stephen Quinn nicked it away from him. He did quite well in the run in the side last year in the Premier League, young Stephen Quinn. Rather Diarra filling the right-back position in which he was used by Chelsea in the final against Arsenal last season.
I saw him play recently there for France against Scotland. I think he probably would prefer to play in midfield, but he's another player that's working his way into Arsene Wenger's thinking. When you look actually at the squad, people think, well, can Arsenal go the distance? Have they got enough strength in depth? But look at this group here tonight. You have to think that they have.
This is not exactly the youth team, is it? Young in age though they are, they've all had a fair amount of experience, barring Gibbs, of course, who is making his debut at left back tonight. Morgan. That's really knocked Sheffield United back on their heels, and their supporters too.
It's been a difficult season, hasn't it, for Brian and everybody connected with the club, and he's trying to change things around and build a side that really, the priority is challenging for the championship, and You know, he'll want to get the club back into the Premier League as quickly as possible. He'll make 1 or 2 changes of his own tonight, knowing that there's a couple of league games coming up that is probably, in many respects, a lot more important than this game tonight.
Armstrong gets it away. Yes, Sheffield United do need to climb that championship table. They do have a strong enough looking squad to be a factor, you'd think, this season in the championship, but they've got more problems here. Walcott's got in behind. He's looking around for support. It's a vital interception, but it's come out to Bentner anyway, and then Denilson skies it into the crowd.
That wasn't a great strike, was it, from the young Brazilian, but once again, just that pace. Sheffield United get themselves into all sorts of trouble there. They look very ragged at the moment, which is understandable, having conceded that early goal, but they need to regain their composure. Denilson, it's quite a surprise that he hasn't really worked the goalkeeper from there. But, you know, following those early troublesome moments, Arsenal, with that goal now, just popping little passes around and making the home side work very hard against them.
Bentner, good-looking ball towards Walcott. And it was important that Armstrong got across there. Very important, in fact. What Walcott's showing, I know everybody around Arsenal Football Club feels this, is he's a very, very good finisher.
Well, I think when you see some of the goals that he has scored, I mean, he hasn't scored a huge amount, of course, for Arsenal, but his goal in the final last year in this competition was of the highest quality. Seen him score a couple of goals against Germany at under-21 level, which was top draw as well.
Bentner. Terrible pressure here for Sheffield United, who need to hang on in there. Instead, muscled out of it by Song.
They almost look a little bit intimidated, Sheffield United, at the moment, which is a little bit of a surprise, I think, because it is a very young Arsenal team. Sheffield United have got 1 or 2 experienced players that they need to really get back into this game.
Tong has done well there. Into the danger area. Fabianski goes for a rather eccentric-looking punch, but it worked, I guess.
I think he's a very lucky boy, actually. Looked a very comfortable save to make, but he made it look extremely hard in the end.
Might have been 1 or 2 raised eyebrows at that on the Arsenal bench. Can't argue with the skipper, though. Fabianski is captain tonight. I don't think anybody could have second-guessed Arsene Wenger on that one. Instead, battling away over there.
Well, they probably feel the nerves a wee bit at the moment, Fabianski. I think the way that he dealt with that cross there from Michael Tong would suggest that. As I said earlier, though, speaking to Arsene Wenger, he really does rate him extremely highly.
Tong feeds Stephen Quinn, but he just showed too much of it to Diarra, who you feel might grow into an important member of the Arsenal squad. Walcott looking to get onto this, and he's got the speed to now. If he'd gone down there, it would have been interesting to see what the referee might have given.
Well, the one thing, in fairness to Mike Dean, he gets himself into a very good position here. There's a lot of ground to make up the referee, as you probably tend to when you're refereeing against Arsenal with the pace in the side. But Theo Walcott there, very honest in terms of the way that he realises his first touch is far too big to get him past the keeper.
It really was fair play, wasn't it, from Theo Walcott? You can only think that most strikers would have hit the turf there. It's to be applauded for it, of course. Instead, Song doing well. Instead, did rather win it back from him, though. Tong spreads it out here to Lee Bromby. Now Dave Carney, the Australian. Lines up a shot. Did that take a deflection on the way through? No, goal kick it is.
Doesn't quite get hold of it, does he? The Australian wide player, always looking to get it onto his favoured left foot. Carney, another player that's trying to establish himself here. And Brian Robson's set up. Not a bad strike, but I think somehow they really need to try and force 1 or 2 issues and try and get it against this Arsenal back four and young goalkeeper. I mean, you look across the back line, you know, Gibbs has not really played in that left back position.
Here's Eduardo. Showed good speed again. The ball in wasn't quite of the usual Arsenal quality. Still settling into life in England, Eduardo, but I think he's probably settled in a bit better after that strike tonight. Denilson has found Walcott again.
Well, Armstrong has been left 1v1 against Theo Walcott on 3 occasions now. Unfortunately for the left back of Sheffield United, he's dealt with the situation quite well.
It's a foul throw. Don't see too many of those given, do you, in senior football?
Just going back to this Arsenal back four, though, you know, we talked about Gibbs, who's a left winger actually playing at left back. Song, who's primarily a midfield player, having to play centre back. Justin Hoyt is a right back playing centre back. So, you know, Fabianski is still very new to the team. So if Sheffield United can get something going forward, in particular set pieces, you know, they might just cause 1 or 2 problems of their own. But so far, it's been very difficult for them to get the ball.
Denilson to Bentner. It's almost radar-controlled passing. Here's Bentner. Eduardo looking to pull away from the defenders again. There are times when Arsenal look like the poet laureates of passing.
That's very easy on the eye, isn't it? But it's these opportunities that Sheffield United really need to make more of. Well, they get a free kick. Instead of probably popping a ball into round about the penalty spot and getting Morgan and Luchetti up from the back, they decide to play it short and lose possession. And 2 very experienced characters, of course. Brian Kidd, former Arsenal player, who's coach here, and Brian Robson, who very distinguished playing career.
Actually, he took Middlesbrough to 2 finals as a manager as well. Didn't win them, but does have a pretty good record in the competition, Brian Robson. Played as a loser in a final as well for Manchester United against Sheffield Wednesday back in 1991. But Arsenal bossing this, maybe predictably so far. Here's young Gibbs. He's really a left winger, as we've been telling you, playing at left back. He's a boy from Lambeth. Denilson, Eduardo, Bentner. Can Walcott get to this? Yes, he shows strength to do that, and then that little bit of pace as well.
Well, the movement of Arsenal at the moment is very difficult for Sheffield United to deal with. You know, Eduardo's just dropping into a hole between midfield and attack. You know, sometimes Bentner's doing that. Just really aren't dealing with the mobility in this Arsenal side. This is where they need to do better, though, Sheffield United. They need to keep the ball.
Lost it again there, Gilberto to Diaby. Just simple 1- and 2-touch football from Arsenal all around the pitch. And they're finding the space to do it. Just making all look so ridiculously easy at times. Bentner to Walcott. Almost invited to have a go with the left foot for a moment, and he's got a free kick here, right on the edge. Sheffield United protesting, Armstrong in particular, about that.
That's difficult when you're chasing somebody like Theo Walcott, especially when he's working his way into the box. It certainly was a free kick, and it gives Arsenal a real opportunity to go either side of the wall. Ian Bennett's going to really have to work hard to get that line in front of him in good shape.
Well, Sheffield United could have done without that one. That wall is nothing like 10 yards for a moment, which is why that Mike Dean is dragging them back. Well, Eduardo's left foot or Denilson's right? It's Eduardo, and it's into the wall. It was a disappointing effort this time. Here's Gibbs. And this time Ian Bennett. Comes up to claim it, deputising at the moment for the injured Paddy Kenny. Bennett, goalkeeper who's played in a League Cup final for Birmingham against Liverpool in 2001. That one went to a penalty shootout, you might remember.
I think this is where they've got to make the most of these situations.
Armstrong hitting it long. Sheffield United could have done with that chance for Billy Sharp going in early.
Well, they've had a couple of little half chances, nothing more than that. Sharp's probably had their best chance, a decent save from Fabianski, but you know, these are the opportunities I think that they've got to make the most of, with the likes of Luchetti and Morgan in there.
It's another long throw. Fabianski says that's mine. Goalkeeper signed from Legia Warsaw. Currently number 3 in the pecking order. Bentner. Well, I wonder if he was going to have a shot there, Bentner, but instead he tries to find Walcott, and it's gone out of play too.
Well, he did the hard bit brilliantly, didn't he? I mean, he brought that ball under control from the long punt upfield from Fabianski, and then he just delays the opportunity and waits till one or two white shirts join in. And this is where he really needed to either provide a better opening for Walcott or even strike himself. I mean, he's got enough confidence, Nicholas Bentner.
He was instrumental in knocking out Sheffield United last season when he was on loan at Birmingham. They won 4-2 here, and Bentner did score. On by Stephen Quinn. Song getting it away, playing as a central defender, like his uncle Rigobert, who used to play for Liverpool and West Ham. Carney's done well there. Tong.
Well, Diaby just trying to rectify his mistake. There's another element of Arsenal's youngsters in terms of when they do lose possession. They work extremely hard to get the ball back.
Bromby. Song, very strong, and won the header. Here's Walcott again. And it's going to be a foul by Armstrong, who might be booked. He'll certainly want a word, the referee.
Well, it's his second one, and I think it's just registered with the referee. He's probably just telling Chris Armstrong that the next occasion he's probably going to get a yellow card. It's very difficult, though, when somebody of the pace of Walcott is running at you.
This is a football equivalent to solving a Rubik's Cube, isn't it, for him tonight? Chris Armstrong with Walcott looking to dazzle on that right side.
He's actually gone very tight with Theo Walcott. I mean, as a left-back, you tend to be covering a little bit narrower around your centre-backs, but he really has worked hard to get close to Walcott.
Diarra. Same towards Bentner. Luchetti was able to get it away, but it hasn't gone far, just to Gibbs. Carney. Good run. Not for the first time by the Aussie. Here he is again. He's shown up quite brightly on that side.
He's a good technical player, Dave Carney. Got the feeling that another player.
Stead. In towards Sharp. Walcott looking to use his pace. It's well played by Armstrong.
It was the last-ditch tackle, wasn't it? From the Sheffield United left-back. There's a lot of space for Walcott to run into there.
More good play by the Brazilian Denilson. Wonder if he'll be one of the stars of the Brazilian side when they host the World Cup in 2014, and come to think of it, might Walcott be the big star for England in 2018, should England, as seems possible, host the competition in that year. Walcott would only be 29 then. Here he is now. free kick against Song, who had that loan period at Charlton where he featured in midfield, to no avail. Charlton going down in the end.
Well, this is where they need a little bit of quality now. We've got some decent height there. Keep the ball away from the goalkeeper.
Now Montgomery's going to take this. He's got Morgan to aim for. He's gone up on that back post. Fabianski's come and is won it as well.
Well, I need to be flatter ball, Ian. I mean, I talked about keeping it away from the goalkeeper. What is he, 6'3", 6'4"? Fabianski, very, very comfortable in terms of coming and dealing with that.
Remember, they're playing for a place in the last 8 here. Arsenal have largely been in control of things, but they're not clear of Sheffield United. Not long towards the back post. Luchetti won the header, and Fabianski grabs it.
That's a good claim, wasn't it, from the goalkeeper? He's put under a lot of pressure. So that was a better worked free kick. Just managed to get a play around the back, and this went very, very deep. Does the right thing. Luchetti just heading the ball back in amongst the cluster of Sheffield United players.
Kieran Gibbs looks very comfortable, even though he's not a natural left back. To Diaby. Now Bentner, still only 19. Made a good impression at Birmingham City with Steve Bruce last season. Self-confident boy. And he's found a way to get this through to Walcott. One pass too many that time. It was Sharp who got back to help out his defence. Oh, that's put the goalkeeper under some real pressure, but in the end Ian Bennett was equal to the call.
Well, a lot of credit to Eduardo. He spotted the opportunity very quickly.
Stead hustled out of it. Arsenal working very hard, apart from their passing, to get the ball back again as well. Diarra. Armstrong has been very busy, bitten with the challenge. Bentner. Arsenal weaving patterns all over the pitch.
Well, it just keeps coming back at them, though. That's the problem. They really can't get out of their own defensive third at the moment.
Diaby. Saw him score, didn't we, from that kind of position against Derby early in the season. Absolute cracker. Well, coming up at the weekend, and a man who has knows all about this fixture, Arsenal against Manchester United. Make sure you don't miss that. Saturday lunchtime, remember. We're on the air from noon, Sky Sports 1, available in high definition. Of course, the Summit Conference at the top. And West Ham United against Bolton Wanderers. That comes up Super Sunday for you from 3 o'clock, Sky Sports 1 and HD1 as well. That's Gary Mixon's second game in charge for Bolton.
I think if Arsene Wenger had one criticism probably of his side, is they need to probably be a little bit sharper in the final third. You know, with the chances that they do create, they probably don't take enough of them. I think that you know, that's a responsibility of everybody in the team, not just the strikers. We've seen Cesc Fabregas lead the way, haven't we? He's getting into double figures already in terms of his goals output from midfield. A terrific return so early in the season for a midfield player.
And like a few others, he's back home relaxing in London, probably watching this on the television somewhere as the first team prepare for Manchester United at the weekend. Probably not many of these would start, if any. Eduardo, oh, it's a nice play by him. Back in towards Walcott, this time Armstrong gets it away, but Arsenal do look threatening.
Oh, Walcott really just probably needed to take a little bit more of a gamble there. Eduardo gets himself into a terrific position where it's very difficult to to get close to him, and he provides a ball that was always going to test the Sheffield United back four.
Abu Diaby to Nicholas Bentner. Diarra, Denilson, Diarra again. This time it's almost un-Arsenal-like on their current form, but Sheffield United have made a present of the ball to Eduardo. Denilson thought Bentner might be behind him, he was too. Eduardo tried to measure one. Back it comes to Bentner again.
Just look at the possession though that Arsenal are enjoying here. I mean, it's so comfortable for them. You get the feeling there's still 2 or 3 gears for them still to go into.
Gilberto. Diarra. It's Diaby. Gibbs. It's well cut out by Morgan, but I tell you what, Sheffield United might be quite glad at the moment that it is only one.
Well, I think they're a little bit fortunate because Arsenal have had the lion's share of possession. I think it's that final third where they need to be a little bit slicker. Arsene Wenger's side.
It's come out as far as Kieran Gibbs. He did score 9 goals for the under-18s last season, Gibbs. Actually playing a bit further forward and starting to venture a bit further forward as well, I've noticed.
Well, he was very, very good in Arsenal's run to the FA Youth Cup semi-final last season. Kieran Gibbs got an excellent goal in the semi-final first leg at the Emirates, and you know, Arsene Wenger has been impressed with his progress over the last 12 months. And I think the good thing is that there's a lot of English players coming through now.
That was a loose ball by Stephen Quinn. Walcott was onto it quickly. Well played by Chris Lucchetti to get that away.
Well, Nicholas Bentner is not particularly happy with the officials because I think he was given for offside there. I feel Walcott decides to try and play the ball early. Well, this is the problem, you know, once again just giving the ball away cheaply. And Brian Robson will be furious with how his side have approached this first half in terms of how they've kept the ball. He just wants to make sure that they keep it with a little bit more accuracy and quality than what he's seen so far.
Interesting quote from William Gallas this week, the Arsenal skipper, is saying that teams are now becoming frightened of Arsenal. Diarra somehow emerges with the ball, and now he's just slipped her. I think he just got caught there as well, Diarra.
Yeah, it was Chris Morgan, and it's probably a little bit fortunate, the Sheffield United skipper, that Mike Dean might not be giving him a yellow card there, probably just a talking to, but he knew exactly what he was doing, you know, around the game a long way. Diarra does brilliantly, really, get himself out of a situation he almost created himself, and well, it was a minimal contact.
Of course, Morgan was found guilty, wasn't he, in this fixture in the Premier League last season of trial by TV, ended up with a 4-game ban for his crafty little punch on Robin van Persie. That game was a bit more feisty than this one, I think.
Well, he's been a terrific pro, hasn't he, over the years, Chris Morgan. He's given this football club good service. And I think that he's a no-nonsense type, the old school of defending, isn't he?
Still with a header on, here's Diarra. Diaby. Bentner. Arsenal's shadow team playing exactly the same style as we've seen from the first choice 11 this season. Pass, 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 and then pass some more until you can find an opening. Can they find the end product, though, to go with it?
Well, that's the bit you're always hoping for. You know, that's the final element that everybody's searching for, I guess, is those goals, that ability. the last part of the pitch to open up sides. At the moment, Sheffield United have spent a long time, or certainly will feel that way for their back four and goalkeeper, a long time defending in this first half.
They just can't get the ball, can they, for long periods here. Please, can we have our ball back? Gibbs. Goes Sheffield United's way. They do have the ball back now. Kieran Gibbs again. Aimed towards John Stead, but Sheffield United, I think you're right, Brian, they've got half an eye on two important home games come up in the league, Burnley and then Ipswich Town, and if they won both of those, they'd be making big strides up towards the playoff positions rather than looking at the bottom of the table. And James Beattie rested tonight.
Well, he's done well for them this season, and I can understand Brian's thinking, but also, given the season that they're having, you know, it wouldn't do them any harm to have at least a good performance tonight.
Diaby, Walcott's in space here. Theo Walcott, and that was a wayward finish this time from the youngster.
Actually, when he goes to strike the ball, just have a little look at the pitch. There's a lot of sand came up here, but once again, just getting caught out. Find themselves in a very difficult position. It's a close call in terms of the offside. Diaby plays a decent pass, but there you can just see the sand that seems to come up here, and the pitch really is cutting up quite badly. Well, you wouldn't think so, the way that Arsenal are passing the ball around at the moment. Certainly didn't help Theo Walcott on that occasion.
He didn't have the sand wedge. Tong. Stead. Armstrong's got round the back here. And it's hammered away.
Well, again, the goalkeeper didn't look comfortable, did he, when that ball came into the box? And you know, I know Sheffield United have been outplayed, but they only find themselves 1-0 down, and you know, just one little moment of indecision from the goalkeeper, or a bit of quality.
That's quite interestingly done by Stead. That might have worked for him.
Well, he had an awful lot to do here, didn't he, John Stead? I mean, he's one of those players that works incredibly hard, and he's had to forage away up top alongside Billy Sharp for any little half chances, some scraps, bits and pieces. Hasn't quite come his way.
Might have been another divot the way it travelled off Fabianski's boot. That's what it'll tell us anyway. Tong, good ball. Armstrong. Stead's waiting in the middle. Fabianski punches again, only as far as Carney. This is a bit better from Sheffield United. Billy Sharp. Good ball in towards Stead, who couldn't quite get there ahead of Gilberto. In fact, he caught him late.
Oh, he did brilliantly there, Gilberto. Just look at the position that he takes up, though, at that near post. I mean, Billy Sharp hits this ball in very quickly, but it's a good build-up down the left-hand side. When Armstrong's actually got forward, he has been a threat. But one or two balls that he's played in, I mean, the goalkeeper hasn't dealt with that particularly well, and that isn't going to calm his back four in front of him. But just have a look at where Gilberto positions himself. You know, that's about experience and knowledge.
Alex Song back to his goalkeeper. Song's been out for the last few games with a calf injury. In fact, hasn't played since the last round when Arsenal beat a pretty much full strength Newcastle United. One or two were missing, but a lot of the Newcastle side that night were their usual Premier League players. Remember last season in the competition, Arsenal hit 6 at Anfield on their way to the final. Bentner. Walcott. Lovely close control, change of pace. Walcott. It's a great run so far. Can he find a cross at the end of it here? No. It's good defensive work by Sheffield United.
Actually, Nick Montgomery, who did a fantastic job there, just tracking the run of Theo Walcott. Walcott getting himself out of a very tight situation on this right touchline. I just wonder what people think now about clubs like Arsenal playing a side like we're seeing tonight. There might not be regulars in the first team, but people felt it was very, and they were very critical, saying that they were doing the competition a disservice. But I don't think anybody watching Arsenal over the last couple of years, or other sides like Manchester United, where they have played the youngsters, would probably say the same now.
It's gone out for a goal kick. Well, in the last 4 years, to underline your point, Brian, Arsenal have reached the final, 2 semi-finals and a quarter-final.
Yeah, and they're progressing young players, as Manchester United are doing, as a lot of clubs are doing now. The Derby just falling awkwardly there. You know, Arsene Wenger stood very firm in terms of his principles. He knew exactly what he wanted to create and do with his football club.
So a free kick to Arsenal. Yeah, it's interesting because in all the pre-season forecasting, very few people thought that Arsenal would be serious contenders in the title race this year. They were a side reckoned to still be in transition.
I still think that's the case in some respects, but you know, I think that a lot of these young players have grown up now, and I think the big element for me when I watch them now is they seem to be able to withstand, you know, the physical approach of one or two sides. I think that they deal with that element of the game a lot better. As you saw it at the weekend against Liverpool, and Liverpool started exceptionally well, and then Arsenal got to grips with the game and played some fabulous football.
Stead nearly found Sharp, good idea. Carney, clever little touch. Stephen Quinn, Bromby arriving on this side. Oh, and the cross is a desperate disappointment after what had been a slick build-up.
Well, it was a great shame, wasn't it? They got themselves into an excellent position in the field, and Brian Robson will be delighted with what he's just seen there, and that was about keeping the ball better and showing enough confidence to get into the final third and also get bodies in the box. Very disappointing, the cross. But that came about through some sloppy play from Abu Dhabi, and I think that there's one or two occasions where he's given the ball away too cheaply. Arsene Wenger, very, very quick to the edge of his technical area. He isn't a shouter and baller at players if they make mistakes, but he has his way of just letting players know how unhappy he is at times.
Never won the League Cup yet, Arsene Wenger. They've been pretty close last year. Chelsea just wearing the youngsters down as the game went on at the Millennium Stadium. Remember the finals back to Wembley this season. Is Eduardo. Now Bentner. Haven't got that cushion of the second goal yet. Haven't put this game to bed, Arsenal, but they have got a free kick here. Some 25 yards out.
It was a cheap one to give away, wasn't it? It's, how they'll want to try and get that second goal to go in at the interval with that nice cushion. A lot of possession, Arsenal, without creating too many clear-cut chances.
Discussion between Denilson and Eduardo. Looking for the little chips. A good idea towards Walcott. It was pre-planned, clearly.
I'm just surprised he went at this with his left foot, you know. I mean, it's very, very well worked. They know exactly what he wanted to do there. I just wondered whether he'd just take it on the volley first time.
That's the half-time whistle, and Eduardo's goal, his first domestically for Arsenal this season. A cracking left foot shot, putting the Gunners 1 up here. They've been dominant, but Sheffield United are not out of this yet. Sheffield United 0, Arsenal 1.
Yeah, fascinating to watch, really, isn't it? Watching the Arsenal kids grow up in front of your very eyes. We'll get the views of former Arsenal striker Alan Smith when we come back in a couple of minutes. Only in footballing terms, in truth, it's been men against boys. Make your own minds up which is which.
In 1588, the most powerful countries on Earth went to war.
His armada is invincible.
But by God, England will not fall while I am queen.
Let them come with the armies of hell!
We cannot be defeated.
Elizabeth, the Golden Age.
Foster's super chilled. Well, you wouldn't want a warm beer, would you?
One man stands against the most advanced army on the planet and will master time to become the ultimate weapon. With the power to slow, stop, and reverse time. Become the ultimate soldier. Time Shift. Out Friday.
Do you have the code? The Armani Code. Dragons for Men by Giorgio Armani.
When you love football this much, you just want to share it with the world. Paper, online, mobile. The Sun. We love it.
Experience the world of Panasonic Viera Full HD with 68 billion true-to-life colors. Handling the quickest sporting action with ease. With deep blacks that deliver depth and realism you can almost touch. For sports, movies and games, Panasonic Viera Full HD, the perfect large screen choice. Panasonic, ideas for life.
The new 5-megapixel Cybershot phone from Sony Ericsson.
Wow, what's this? Looks amazing.
It's an Acer, incredible at $499. It has Intel Centrino Duo processor technology, 2 gig of RAM and a huge 120 gig hard drive.
Great, but is it me?
Oh yeah, It's even got a built-in webcam.
Not bad.
Beautiful. It's just $4.99.
I'll take one.
Great.
Internet prices to take home today. PC World. The best of both worlds.
Right, show's over. That first goal scorer's killed it for me. Ouch, out, come on.
Sky Bet. It matters more when there's money on it.
Spanish action coming up through this week on Sky Sports 2 at 10 o'clock tonight, Valencia against Real Madrid. And then tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock on Sky Sports 1, Valladolid against Barcelona. We've got under-16 action this coming Friday, Sky Sports 1 at 7:30 for England, under-16s against their Welsh counterparts. Bramall Lane and a few tricks and a few treats, and mainly from the Arsenal side that are on show this evening. They lead Sheffield United by a goal to nil. Alan Smith is with me. Alan, is there any other side in this country who could put out a team of reserves and kids and so dominate a game?
Well, I don't think there is, Jeff. It's difficult to think of one. You know, even Manchester United got turned over when they changed the side around against Coventry. It's spectacular, really, to look at it. And obviously the early goal helps here tonight, and it settles everyone down, quietens the home crowd and knocks back the home side a little bit. But even so, the way that they went about the challenge, the way they passed the ball, kept it and took the stung out of the match was brilliant.
What a strike it was for that opening goal as well. I mean, when you hit a ball like this, it stays hit. But the build-up was delightful as well.
It was. And Nicholas Bentner, they found it difficult coping with him, dropping off and his ability to turn. But, you know, look at that. Luketti there is a couple of yards off and he's thinking, well, go on and hit it. You're on the edge of the box, a little bit wide. The keeper's got it covered that side. You've no chance of scoring. But what a thunderbolt of a left peg this was from Eduardo. I mean, that boy is a special finisher. He really is. He just stands there after he's scored as if it's the kind of thing he does every day, which he probably does in training.
You made the point as well, you know, in Eduardo and Bentner and Van Persie and Adebayor and all different types of strikers.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's a wonderful balance because Eduardo's that poacher, that fox in the box. Walcott, when he plays in the middle, he can get beyond. Adebayor is a physical presence. Bentner is to a certain extent, but a little bit different. And it is a lovely combination for them, and all of them can come in and do a great job.
Just a thought, and it can only be guesswork really, Alan. Gilberto not captain. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I'd really mystifying. I'm not sure if something's gone on. You would have thought he's a stick-on. The old head amongst the kids, and Fabianski making his debut, isn't he? I don't know what the thinking behind it is. Maybe we'll find out later on, or whether it was just a little ploy from Arsene Wenger. Give the captain's armband to a keeper, give him some confidence. I don't know. But Gilberto would have been out there acting like a captain anyway.
Just a word on Kieran Gibbs making his debut. Had a very quiet time of it, really.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been able to really get at Arsenal, have they? They had a couple of good moments towards the end, didn't they? Billy Sharp just about
and early
wide.
on, when Billy Sharp had an early opportunity, and really, it's virtually all Fabianski's had to do.
Yes, he has. I mean, he's had a couple of crosses to deal with, but he hasn't looked entirely comfortable with. But he does well here, comes out quickly and spreads himself. I mean, Billy Sharp, apart from this early chance, has hardly had a sniff, but the two strikers linking up, John Stead heading it on, and it's an important save because that came just before Arsenal went up the other end and scored.
Sheffield United, well, they need to keep the ball a bit better, don't they?
They do. I mean, they can't make it into a battle, which they would probably ideally like because of Arsenal's technical ability. They can't get close enough. But they showed in the end there when they did keep the ball and they moved it across the pitch, they got it out wide, better ball into the box, and they would have had half a decent chance. So some room for encouragement there, I think, for Brian Robson. That's what he'd be saying at half-time. We're still only a goal down, despite coming a long way second best in that first half. So let's do a little bit more of that. Let's have a bit more confidence against this Arsenal side.
Yeah, just that early goal to show for their efforts so far for Arsenal. Terrific strike from Eduardo. He'll have been absolutely delighted with that. Brian Robson, no signs of encouragement for his team just before half-time. Second half coming up.
Homer Simpson, singing sensation.
My boy, you are a star. An opera star.
Springfield must be tone deaf. Brand new Simpsons, Sunday at 7, only on Sky One.
New from Wrigley, Extra Fusion Sugar-Free Gum. Now in tasty raspberry, blackcurrant, grapefruit and orange pineapple banana flavours.
When Laura found she kept falling asleep on the bus to work, she decided it was time for a thorough health check. A week later, she found herself enjoying a cup of herbal tea and a bowl of muesli in a lovely Bupa health centre. She had test after test, and then had a whole hour to chat to Sophie, the doctor. "There's nothing to worry about, you're just a little anemic," said Sophie, "and we can sort that out quite easily. Apart from that, you're not in bad shape at all." Bupa. Feel better.
99% of football is in your head.
Eu lembro-me quando estava na escola e ela dizia assim: a bola não te vai dar de viver.
I think the first time I was introduced to Paz was in the England squad. You think to yourself, one day I'll score one of them in a match, but it rarely happens.
Do campo que eu faço balé dentro de campo. O meu estilo, ser rápido e fazer os dribles rápidos.
One-on-one, this is me.
This is my game.
A mobile phone has been handed in. It's a Nokia 6500 Classic.
It's really slim. Looks fabulous. It just feels really, really nice. Oh yeah.
The new Nokia 6500 Classic. Hold it and you'll want it. Be more Nokia.
Can they be stopped when daylight never comes?
We can last a month.
30 days of night.
The UEFA Champions League next Wednesday.
That is superb!
Arsenal through if they beat Slavia Prague. Sky Sports coverage of the UEFA Champions League now available on Sky One.
I love you, Steve-O, but not enough to let you eat my corners and my bookings.
Sky Bet. It matters more when there's money on it.
You need to buy your TV. It's coming Saturday at noon. Arsenal against Manchester United. Sky Sports 1 and HD1. And Championship football view on Saturday evening. Colchester against Leicester, 5:15 on 1 and HD1. On Sunday, an East Anglian derby, and to add a bit more spice to it, Glenn Roeder's first game in charge of Norwich against Ipswich, 12:30, Sky Sports 1 and HD1. And West Ham take on Bolton, 3 o'clock, Sky Sports 1 and HD1. Latest scores for you in the other Carling Cup fourth round matches this evening. Goalless so far at the Reebok Bolton against Manchester City. Chelsea 2-1 up against Leicester. Gareth McCauley put Leicester in front there, but 2 Frank Lampard goals put Chelsea ahead. Robbie Fowler's return, of course, with Cardiff to Liverpool. No goals So far, it's Luton 0, Everton 0. Blackburn lead at Portsmouth thanks to Benny McCarthy's goal, his 8th of the season. And Spurs, first game under Wanderama. So far, so good. Robbie Keane with his 9th of the season. They lead Blackburn to the Championship by a goal to 0. And a goal to 0 the score at Bramwell Lane as well. And it's Arsenal who lead thanks to that fella's ferociously hit shot. Eduardo's goal giving Arsenal the advantage against Sheffield United. Here are our commentators for the second half, Brian Marwood and Ian Dark.
Thank you very much indeed, Jeff. Well, Sheffield United are the top scorers so far in the Carling Cup so far this season. They've hit 11 goals in 3 ties against Chesterfield, MK Dons and Morecambe, but Arsenal clearly a different proposition. Leading by a goal to 0. It might have been more. Although Sheffield United did have their moments, what can they do in the second half? No changes so far. Here's Alex Song for Arsenal. Average age tonight 21 and a half, and it would be below that if Gilberto, age 31, wasn't in the side. Song's done well there. Gilberto playing it around the corner to Bentner. I think a lot of clubs in the Premier League would be quite happy to have Bentner as their man up top, wouldn't they?
Well, this is the problem Nicholas Bentner's got now. I think he's coming to that period in his career where he'll be chomping at the bit. He'll want to play first-team football. Probably might not get it this season at Arsenal. It's debatable whether he might get it next season with the likes of Van Persie and Adebayor.
He's in the Denmark side at the moment, Nicholas Bentner. But it's Sheffield United who have the free kick here.
Well, they're still not out of this, but I think they need to, if they're going to get set pieces, they need to fire in balls with a little bit better quality than we've just seen there from Chris Armstrong. I think Fabianski looked a little bit nervous at times, the things that he had to deal with in the first half. Wasn't much, but when the ball did come his way, he, 3 or 4 occasions decided to try and punch, and maybe he should have caught them comfortably.
Morgan was beaten in the air. Montgomery flicking it on. Diarra looks comfortable enough in that right back position, though he insists he really is a midfield player. 1 or 2 disciplinary issues, didn't he, in his time under Jose Mourinho at Chelsea. He's come to Arsenal looking for first-team football. It hasn't arrived yet, not in the Premier League anyway. Here's Denilson. Hoyt. Denilson again, who's been given a new deal this season.
Well, that's a difficulty, I think, when you're playing against sides like Arsenal that pass the ball around well. You know, do you go and try and put them under pressure high up the pitch, or try and get yourself at the 2 banks of 4 and wait for the moment to win the ball back?
Arsenal continue to hog the possession. Gilberto. Bentner. Nice turn. Few to aim at, and it's too deep for all of them. First time these 2 clubs have met in the League Cup, by the way, for 26 years. Willie Young and Alan Sunderland were the Arsenal match winners on that occasion. Yes, that long ago. Denilson, who's the Brazil under-20 captain, being marked out for bigger things in the years to come. Not only with Brazil, but Arsenal as well. Gibbs inside the Diarra's asked a lot of him. Bromby's got across here. Obviously feeling no ill effects from the bout of illness he was suffering last night. The illness which made him a doubt for this game. Gibbs tries to plough away through, but Carney comes away with it.
Showed some decent
used
quality.
To be a Dwight York's teammate at Sydney FC.
He's only shown some decent quality when he's been on the ball this evening, Dave Carney, but he Need to get him further up the field. A talented individual, but not going to really be able to show his true qualities playing that deep, trying to help out his back four.
Eduardo, a real pocket battleship of a player, isn't he? Towards Bentner, who climbed high, nobody near to him.
I'm sure Arsene Wenger would love the cushion of another goal or two, give him the chance to blood one or two that's on the bench.
Eduardo's in here, lovely ball from Gibbs, and he doesn't miss, does he? It's Eduardo again, the flag stays down, it is 2-0, and once again, Eduardo finished with aplomb.
Well, there's one or two Sheffield United defenders looking at each other and wondering how they've afforded Eduardo that type of space. I mean, it's a comfortable ball, really, from back to front. Gibbs spots the run of Eduardo, but that's poor defending. You're talking about experienced defenders here, and they really have been carved open. And this boy, when he's 1v1 against the goalkeeper, certainly keeps terrific composure, good technique. And that really was a very, very confident strike on a difficult playing surface.
Well, he's doubled his Arsenal tally tonight from 2 to 4. Eduardo, England will have to watch him in that game at Wembley. He's got 13 in 19 caps for Croatia as well. Saw him get a hat-trick in Israel. Beautifully taken that night as well. Some player to have in reserve, isn't it?
Well, it's an embarrassment of riches, isn't it, really, at Arsene Wenger's disposal at the moment. The amazing thing is he throws sides together, but, you know, they still, you know, play with a real swagger and an arrogance that they can just keep the ball and outpass the opposition.
Cheeky little back heel from Denilson. It's Diaby. An errant touch from him. Gives Sheffield United a chance to break it, but they can't keep it. It's well won back by Gibbs, and by the way, the debutant can claim the assist with that goal. It was a gorgeous ball from him. Eduardo's looking for the hat-trick, you know, now.
Terrific little run there. He just peeled away off the shoulder of Luchetti. Bentner wasn't too far away from finding his strike partner.
Stephen Quinn and Dave Carney. Bromby. Montgomery, it's a good ball in. Stepp was attacking it, and that was Sheffield United's best move of the match.
Well, he's unlucky there, John Stepp. Very nearly reads the situation. Song just does enough against him, but this is better. You know, it's been crying out for Sheffield United just to keep the ball with a little bit of greater quality and care than what we've seen tonight. It's a terrific ball in from Montgomery. It's right in the spot in terms of exactly where you'd want it as a centre forward to really try and get in front of the defender.
That was better from Sheffield United, and they needed that to go in, really. Well, at last they did get round the back of Arsenal.
Seems to be an air of resignation, isn't there, about these Sheffield United players tonight, that, you know, they were playing against Arsenal, and they would keep the ball well, and they would just bide their time. And Sheffield United, you know, one thing that probably Brian would be a little bit disappointed about is that one or two of his players haven't really stood up to the test and shown him that they really want to be in his first team, because, you know, there's a few here in his side that are playing for places. Well, things aren't going particularly well for this football club at the moment. You know, they need results in the Championship. You know, what Brian wants is a squad that, you know, everybody's battling for their places.
That's been quite the in-your-face type of performance you might have expected from Sheffield United. But it is hard to play this pressing game to stop Arsenal's passing. Remember, Liverpool found that at the weekend.
I'm not sure.
I mean, how do you play against it, Brian?
Hey, listen, everybody talked a few years ago about maybe physically that was your best route against Arsenal. I think they've grown up and dealt with that better. I think that, you know, certainly when you get the ball back, you need to keep it better than what they have done tonight. They haven't really shown the necessary quality when they have had the ball, and I think that's been their major problem.
And just to underline your point, Montgomery's ball there goes out of play instead of finding Stead. Diarra has got that pass wrong. Tong was able to cut it out. Lucchetti's 36 years of age now, back to Morgan, is to in tonight. Kilgallen, by the way, who usually plays in the defence, is another of those who's been rested, and they have had 2 on loan defenders, Gary Cahill from Aston Villa and Phil Barsley from Manchester United recently. So Sheffield United have had to change around a fair bit too.
Well, you know, it's what I was saying though. I think there's an opportunity here though for a number of players to stake their play in, you know, their place in the mind of their manager. You know, I think it's one of those, well, right, you know, we've probably mourned about the fact that we're not playing regularly for Sheffield United. Well, Brian will say, well, there's your opportunity. You know, go on, prove yourself tonight. I just think there's 1 or 2 players for the home side that haven't quite, you know, gone and done a little bit more than what perhaps they're capable of doing.
Diarra, almost as if they're playing with something of an inferiority complex. Easy to get one, though, against Arsenal in their current mood. Walcott, and it's gone straight back to Denilson. Now Gilberto. Bentner's dispossessed. Now Stead. This is a bit more promising. Billy Sharp is in the middle. They need more support. It's aimed towards Sharp, but it's cut out by Justin Hoyt. Bromby. Here's Bentner again. He's shown up well tonight.
Well, he's been a good outlet, hasn't he? I mean, he's worked very hard without too much reward in the final third. It's his assist, of course, that helped Eduardo to his first goal. So Nicholas Bentner, like many strikers, you know, they're judged on their goals output, and he'll want to get on the score sheet tonight.
It does seem at the moment as if there are no clouds on Arsenal's horizon. It has been a golden season so far going into this fixture. They'd won 14, drawn 2, lost none this season, scored 40 goals and let in only 7.
Where did it all go wrong, eh?
Yeah. But they don't hand out trophies on Halloween night.
No. Arsene Wenger's been around long enough to know he's built a few different sides since he came to the football club in 1996. Got Pat Rice alongside him, but had a test at Anfield, which they came through on Sunday, and a massive test ahead of them on Saturday against a very, very good Manchester United side. You know, Alex Ferguson has also built a very good, exciting young team.
Yeah. Essential viewing that Saturday lunchtime. Don't miss it with us on Sky Sports 1 and HD1. It's a 12:45 kick-off Saturday, that. Just to remind you, Arsenal against Manchester United. It's very, very comfortable for the Gunners here.
Well, Brian Robson has got a couple of players that might just turn things a wee bit for them in the attacking third. People like Danny Webber, who's got good pace. Keith Gillespie, his experience, knowledge, know-how. What he won't want now is for his side to crumble and concede a lot more goals. So they're very fragile in terms of their confidence so far, Sheffield United.
Here's Kieran Gibbs. Big night for him. I'm sure his family and friends are glued to this, if not in the stadium, on television somewhere. And I'm sure they've been enjoying his performance. He set up a goal on his debut tonight.
He's done well, considering he's probably not playing in his natural position.
It's well won back by Tong. Here's Stead, player with plenty of Premier League experience behind him. Justin Hoyt is another who's been asked to play slightly out of position tonight as a central defender.
been fairly comfortable, hasn't it, for both Hoyt and Song. Sheffield United haven't really put them under that much pressure. They've also had the extra assurance of Gilberto just sitting in front of them. Done a very good job at times when he's called upon, showing his experience and know-how.
And I did mention no blots on the Arsenal landscape, but I suppose Gilberto seems to have a slightly frostier relationship with his manager this season, having lost the captaincy. And then there's the Jens Lehmann business, where he claimed to be humiliated by being left out last week very publicly.
Well, I think Gilberto will be the first to recognise it's about winning football matches, and he'll just have to bide his time and work like a lot of others at the club to get back into the side. Jens Lehmann's gone very public in terms of his thoughts on his situation, which I don't think would have pleased Arsene Wenger.
Stephen Quinn for Sheffield United. Arsenal sitting pretty again. 2 goals to the good, and yet again passing for fun.
Well, the next stage for 1 or 2 here tonight in white shirts is probably to go out on loan. I think that you know, they're probably a reasonable away from playing regular first-team football at Arsenal. So it won't do them any harm to either go to another Premier League club or a Championship club and just get a little bit more experience under their belt. Might be one of the reasons why Roy Keane is in the crowd tonight.
So he might want to take 1 or 2 of these Arsenal players on loan if Arsene Wenger was to agree. Gibbs playing there like the left winger he usually is. Adam Montgomery. Sharps let that run. It's calling for Stephen Quinn, but Diarra with a thunderous challenge.
What a tackle that was. Diarra doing the right thing initially, because when the ball was on the other side, he covered right round, and then he had an awful lot of ground to make the challenge against Stephen Quinn, but terrific determination.
Sharp trying to invent something. Scored 32 last season in League One for Scunthorpe, and there's a couple of changes being made here. Danny Webber is 1, normally part of the first team in the Championship. Stephen Quinn is coming on, and he'll be replaced by his brother Alan Quinn, who's been in and out of the side this season. Did make a semi-final with Sheffield Wednesday in this competition.
Well, very much like for like. Still maintain the formation of 4-4-2. Webber will just join Sharp up top. Might play slightly deeper.
Webber, of course, reached the semi-finals in his time with Watford a couple of seasons ago. 3 to be exact. Against Liverpool, they went out against Liverpool in the semi-final. That was Ray Lewington's side then. Carney is cut out by Hoyt.
Well, Webber will just give them a little bit more pace up top than what they've had so far. Stead and Sharp have been willing runners, but you know, Webber might just test them as Arsenal back 4 in behind. But you know, you need some possession to be able to get on the ball in that midfield third to provide him the opportunities.
He certainly needed something different. Is Kieran Gibbs being used as that left back, by the way, tonight? I know some Arsenal fans would have been expecting to see Armand Traoré playing. He's playing for a French youth team tonight and was unavailable for this fixture. Tong. Bromby. That's a Sheffield Wednesday player, like Alan Quinn. Whisper that around here.
Wasn't too many of us have actually played for both Sheffield clubs.
You've been trying to keep it quiet as well tonight, haven't you? The doorman remembered, though. They let him in, don't worry. Here's Luchetti. It's a little flick by Sharp towards Webber, but it was disappointing because he had Alan Quinn to his outside in a good position.
Great shame, wasn't it? A better ball from Webber, and it might have been an interesting moment for Arsenal to deal with there.
Bentner. Walcott's got him behind here. It's Theo Walcott. Oh, and he's hit the post from a narrow angle. And Sheffield United are reprieved.
That was an electrifying burst, wasn't it, from Walcott?
Walcott was so quickly onto the chance, but couldn't quite convert it.
Well, it was a clever ball from Nicholas Bentner. He knows exactly where Theo Walcott's running. He does the hard part very, very well, and that's bringing it under control and showing the composure to go past the goalkeeper. He'll be disappointed he hasn't scored from here. He's in a rich vein of form, isn't he? It's agonisingly close to a third goal. Probably one that Arsenal have deserved, given the amount of possession that they've had here tonight.
Hard to believe Walcott's still only 18. We seem to have been talking about him for some time now.
Well, he's had the weight of a lot of expectations on his shoulders, I think, since that move from Southampton. Well, he still doesn't look particularly happy, but I'll tell you what, if I was in his shoes, I think I might be relatively pleased. You know, I've got these youngsters playing with the sort of quality and ability that we've seen tonight.
There's a slightly disapproving look on Arsene Wenger's face there. Diarra. Diaby took a guess really there, and Sheffield United can't keep the ball. Yet again, there has been a big problem for them tonight. It's hard enough to get it off Arsenal, and the need to keep it when they do is paramount. Easy for us to say sitting up here, of course.
Well, there's a lot of sides try to try and put Arsenal under pressure, and have been found wanting because of the quality that Arsenal possess. I mean, this doesn't come without a lot of hard work on the training ground. I think it's fantastic for football in general that you've got two footballing sides like Arsenal and Manchester United leading the way in the Premier League, because that'll have a bearing on a lot of coaches thinking, you know, people that are coming into the game that want to make their mark in coaching. They'll look at what the top sides are doing and they'll try and emulate that themselves. So this has a massive knock-on effect for football in general.
Fascinating to see how the season does pan out. Bentner. Can Arsenal sustain this rich vein of form that they've been in all season so far? Bentner. By the way, Arsenal, after that Manchester United game, have to go to Prague to play Slavia again, and beaten them 7-0 this time last week. It was 8 days ago, if memory serves. Walcott no way through this time. Webber was tracking all the way back.
He's one of the few players in the Sheffield United side, Danny Webber, that probably could have kept track with Theo Walcott.
Here's Diaby. Bentner again. It's another fine ball to find Diarra. Denilson almost invited to have a go. He does do, and he scores. For the second round of the competition in a row, Denilson makes it 3-0 to Arsenal. Game, set and match.
Well, I just wonder whether that might have taken a slight deflection, you know, of Chris Morgan, the Sheffield United skipper. I mean, it's a decent strike from Denilson. They allow him to just plough forward. No one really goes to put him under pressure. Chris Morgan tries to get himself in the way. Just wondered whether it changed the flight a little bit. We get a better view from this angle. You can see there, just a slight deflection, and it just does enough to take the ball over the top of the goalkeeper, Ian Bennett, who wasn't the tallest of keepers. But no one could deny that goal, really, for Arsenal.
Well, despite that deflection, Denilson will get it. His effort was on target anyway. Yes, you could kind of tell the way the ball travelled that it might have taken a nick off somebody on the way through, but it is Denilson's goal. Only his second goal for the club, both of them in this competition this season. Sheffield United, frankly, looking for scraps now, you'd think. Deflects an awful long way, and off the line, Lucchetti's effort is cleared by Gilberto.
Well, whatever he's thinking, Gilberto, coming at this game about the fact he's not skipper or he doesn't find himself in Arsene Wenger's first team, I tell you what, he has given a very, very professional performance here tonight.
This one is headed away. Again, it was Gilberto who was back there. He's been the old head among the youngsters. You just wonder, you know, what goes on in his mind. You say, I mean, he is the consummate pro, of course, but he was the club skipper. Here he is playing for what is essentially the second string side. It's something ever come down for him yet?
Ian, you've got to deal with it. You know, it's part and parcel of the game. He won't be particularly happy, but you know what? He's given his all tonight. A difficult evening, or could have been a difficult evening for his side, and he has led the way. Even though he hasn't got that armband on, he has led the way in a lot of things about his performance tonight.
Denilson again, back to Bentner. He'll want one as well. Gibbs. I'll have a go too, he says. And why not?
Well, playing the side like this, everybody wants a piece of the action. I have to say, Arsenal brought a lot of fans up with them this evening. And Arsene Wenger now can sit quite comfortably, probably contemplating maybe a couple of substitutions, but that must be great, isn't it, to go home and away and watch his side as talented as this, playing the type of football that we witnessed tonight.
Yes, big support for Arsenal. They've travelled a long way, even in midweek. And of course, they're packing out the Emirates Stadium, 60,000 every time, isn't it?
Well, it's the same at Old Trafford, because they're playing some fantastic football at the moment. I know that it's all about Sheffield United against Arsenal, but what a game we're probably in store for on Saturday lunchtime.
The slight delay was from the invasion of another intellectual.
Well, began with an I, anyway.
Back to the game. Here's Diarra. Abu Diaby. Arsenal tonight, frankly, have just been too good. Eduardo. Bentner. They might be playing what on paper is a weakened side in this competition, but they definitely want to go through, as they did all the way last season when they kept getting drawn away. West Brom, Everton, Liverpool, they got away from home. They kept passing the test, and of course they beat their big rivals Spurs in the semis over 2 legs.
Well, you know, in football, a lot of coaches and managers talk about good habits. You know, it's one thing playing good football, but it's another thing winning football matches, and that's probably the greatest habit to get into. You know, it's a nice feeling when you come off that field knowing that you just won, you picked up 3 points, or you're through the next round of the cup.
Sheffield United are going to make another change in a moment. Michael Tong maybe coming off, and Keith Gillespie looks like he's going to be introduced. Not been in the side last couple of games, the Northern Ireland winger. Here is that change. Carney is being told by Gillespie to go over to the other flank. That's what's going to happen, and Gillespie will play on the right.
Yeah, Quinnell just took in one right alongside Montgomery in the centre of the field. I think that I feel a little bit sorry for Brian Robson at the moment. The fans have turned against him a wee bit. His side haven't had the best of starts to the campaign, and this was always going to be a difficult one for him. In fact, they were playing against Arsenal. He's made 1 or 2 changes to his side tonight, knowing that probably a couple of league games that are coming up are far more important.
That is the big issue, isn't it, for Sheffield United, trying to get back to the Premier League. Now Webber with Sharp waiting in the middle, Gillespie arriving, still Webber. And Diaby, the tallest player in the side, was there for Arsenal. Montgomery against Gilberto, at times almost just dovetailing in as a third central defender, gets it away. He's just strolled imperiously through this, Gilberto, tonight. Here's Eduardo. Bentner, let's fly. He's blocked this time. Never a hint of an upset so far in this.
Well, it's just pass and move, isn't it? It's stood the test of time over the years of playing football. People talk about the great Dutch side of old and sort of terminology of total football. Well, this is fairly close to it as well.
This is another breathtaking move. Bentner couldn't quite get the little nick he was looking for on Diarra's cross. The son of Diarra yet again. He's had a strong game in that right back position until that moment. It's a rare poor pass from the Gunners.
There's been a few attempts tonight from Arsenal, but you look at the ratio of goals to chances, it's a decent return. Probably the one element that Arsene Wenger would maybe wanted his side to be a little bit better is when they have got into the final third, maybe create more chances than what we've seen. Their possession has been terrific tonight.
Diaby gobbling up the ground, finds Eduardo. It takes another deflection, this effort, and this time it's a bit kinder for Sheffield United. It goes behind for a corner.
Well, I think Ian Bennett thinks that this might just loop over him here. Walcott had made a super run because he created some space for Eduardo. Shifted it onto his favoured left foot.
Denilson in towards Diaby. Sheffield United get it away, but the next assault wave is on its way. And they're almost doing this in second gear here, Arsenal at the moment.
I think this is the big disappointment from Sheffield United's point of view. It's been too comfortable. Now, there's one thing keeping the ball. Arsenal do it with a lot of quality, but Sheffield United haven't been able to get close in any shape or form in different areas of the field.
Yes, they've always had plenty of room. No real pressure on the ball or pressing game from Sheffield United tonight. Chance of Ole and Arsenal from the travelling fans from North London as Bentner tries to find a way onto that one. Sure, even as we speak, Alex Ferguson is plotting his tactics to try to burst Arsenal's bubble at the Emirates Stadium Saturday lunchtime.
He's done a fantastic job, Sir Alex Ferguson, another manager that's building a new team. Talked about the average age here tonight, but it'll be interesting to see what it'll be like from both sides at the Emirates at the weekend.
It's Keith Gillespie. Sheffield United minds turn towards a home game with Burnley at the weekend. And they really have to win to keep up their improved league form. They did win at Leicester in midweek last week, and then got a point on the road at Hull at the weekend.
It's probably been very difficult for a lot of players here because you know, they had a certain way of playing under Neil Warnock, and Brian Robson has tried to change things. You know, he's every right to do that. He's a manager in charge, and you know, I think the players felt the fact that they were relegated and a new manager in charge and new ideas and new ways of playing. And it takes a little while to adjust, and they just haven't really acclimatized to those changes. It's been very interesting to see his side over the last 2 or 3 games. It's very, very different to how they were playing early on in the season.
Morgan gave that a fair old whack back to his goalkeeper, who just had to hoof that away. Ian Bennett arrived with some pace. Arsenal are going to bring on Henry Lansbury for his debut in just a moment. Long, blonde-haired midfield player, England youth international. Diaby, Denilson. Yeah, can Sheffield United break? Maybe they can. It's Alan Quinn. Looking for the 1-2, but nothing doing again. Gilberto was back there covering.
He's not put a foot wrong. I mean, we've talked about Arsenal going forward and how well they've kept the ball, but just look at the job that Gilberto has done for the side this evening.
Diaby. Now Bentner. Significantly, they didn't let Bentner go out on loan this season. They wanted him around. Arsene Wenger felt he'd have a role to play in the first team squad, and that's been the way of it. Scored his first Champions League goal on his debut in the competition last week, Bentner. It's almost like a training ground routine, this now. Goodness knows how many passes this is so far. I've lost count.
I think it's in the double figures.
More than that. It's up to what? Oh. And the move goes on. And Arsenal do get a free kick at the end of it. Now here's Henry Lansbury. Debut time for him. He joined the club when he was 9 years old. Lansbury. He's been playing in youth and reserve teams, only 17 years of age. And off comes Theo Walcott, who is likely, I would think, to figure on the Manchester United, Arsenal bench, I should say, at the weekend.
No, it's understandable change. I hear a lot about this young boy. But the fact he's only been in the club full-time since July says a lot about the progress that he's made at Arsenal Football Club. Talking about him very, very highly. Arsene Wenger likes him enormously, to trust him to put him on the bench tonight. And certainly give him an opportunity here.
A lot of people will be getting their first glimpse of him, myself included. Here's Bentner. It was blocked by Luchetti. It's only come out to Abu Diaby. Measured towards the top corner, but too high.
See what he's trying to execute from the edge of the box. But, unfortunately, doesn't quite get it right. Bentner's still searching for that goal that he's hoping to get.
Here's Armstrong. Eduardo's down injured here. for Arsenal.
He just gets caught on his ankle from Sheffield United skipper. There's a poor kick out from Ian Bennett. Eduardo just trying to take the ball on the volley with the outside of his left foot. Morgan just catching him.
He's got both the goals and certainly won't want to come off. I'm sure he'll want that hat-trick. He has a habit of scoring them, but there is going to be another change here. Nasser Barazait, Dutch midfield player or striker. He scored against Barnet pre-season. And he will replace Eduardo.
Good night for him, wasn't it? 2 goals, looked nice and bright and sharp, and I would imagine another player that might just figure on the bench on Saturday.
So on comes young Barazait for his first taste of first-team football in a competitive game. Now Diaby. Denilson. Lansbury, his first touch of the ball. On the pitch a fair time before the ball actually came to him as well. He could have done with an earlier introduction. Here he is again now. Looks like a foul this time on Montgomery. Gillespie now. Lee Bromby. Kick around the corner by Alan Quinn towards Montgomery. It's been a night of hard toil, this, for Sheffield United, who've been treated with near contempt by Arsenal here tonight.
Well, they seem to do this, don't they, Arsenal, when they field a side like we've seen tonight. They go to difficult places and seem to get results, but more importantly, the performance that goes with the result. It's another one tonight. You know, a lot of these players now will probably be back in the reserve team until the next round of the Carling Cup.
Montgomery's down. Arsenal are going to make another change. They're going to bring on Fran Merida as well now. Chance to see him too. Another 17-year-old, a Spaniard, who's been the subject of a bit of a tug of war involving Barcelona. A Spanish court decided that his Barcelona contract was infringed when he moved to Arsenal. Appeals are going on. It's a bit of a legal battle, and it might just take well, money to settle it, I guess, at some point. Got a good left foot.
Well, he took Fabregas out of Barcelona without having to pay a fee, so I suppose he shouldn't grumble.
Merida did appear for a minute in the last round against Newcastle. Here's Lansbury. One or two unfamiliar names out there now for Arsenal, who say they've got a lot of good English youngsters waiting to come through as well. Bentner. Kieran Gibbs. Denilson. He's got one, wants another. Not going to get it there.
Well, they're just toying and teasing with Sheffield United at the moment, Arsenal. They're playing some fabulous stuff. They really are. I mean, you need to earn the right to play in the manner in which Arsenal have done tonight. You know, they've worked hard to get a foothold in the game. They've worked hard to get the ball back at times, but when they have got it back, you know, they've played with a lot of incisiveness and just the manner in which they've played, it's been very, very difficult for the home side to cope with tonight. It's been a harsh lesson for Ryan Robson's side.
The only consolation being that the League Cup really wasn't what it was about for Sheffield United this season. Getting into the Championship promotion race is very much the issue, and they won't find too many teams in that division who can turn on this kind of style against them. Arsenal get it back again in double quick time. They really have bossed this match in a very, very big way. Kieran Gibbs. Gilberto. Let's just work the triangles. Three minutes of added time here. It is academic, and frankly it has been for quite a long time. Song, well, he did score in that 6-3 win at Anfield and might have played in the League Cup final had he not gone out on loan to Charlton. That's a wry smile to the faces of Arsene Wenger, and a big laugh from Pat Rice. Well, they can afford it, can't they?
That's been embarrassingly easy at times for their side tonight. You know, and you get your centre-halves coming forward and trying to strike from around about 25 yards. You know that you've got a reasonable amount of supremacy. You know, the full-backs have got forward. They just haven't really been tested, the back four and the goalkeeper, on that many occasions. You know, Sheffield United have really played without a spirit. I think that's been a big disappointment for me tonight. I think that there's, as I've said earlier, there's one or two here with Brian Robson's team that have still got a point to prove to their manager, but certainly haven't done it on this showing.
It's almost as if that early goal knocked everything out of them. Carney battling away over there. Did come close once in the second half. Lucchetti's effort cleared off the line by the excellent Gilberto. Mathieu Flamini keeping Gilberto out of the first team at the moment. I suppose it's a situation that could change as the season goes on. I'm certain that Arsene Wenger, there'll come a point when he'll need Gilberto's solidity and experience.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's a lot of football to play. You know, we're only just coming into November. You know, Arsenal are fighting on all fronts at the moment. I think that you know, they're going well in the league, going well in the Champions League, certainly going very well in the Carling Cup. It's a lot of football to be played.
Gibbs looking for a debut goal. Song claiming handball against him there, or sharp is anyway. Mike Dean, the referee, wasn't interested. He did give a contentious penalty at the weekend for Portsmouth, missed in the 94th minute against West Ham. Well, for Sheffield United tonight, not so much a question of how you play against this Arsenal in this mood, but why you even bother. 3-0, it's all over. Sheffield United are put out of their misery. Arsene Wenger's side keep their unbeaten record for the season. Indeed, they are now 24 matches since their last defeat, and they won the game with an awful lot to spare. 2 goals from Eduardo, a third from Denilson. A couple of boys given their debut at the end, and Arsenal go into that big game against Manchester United Saturday lunchtime in very fine fettle. They've eased their way through with, well, contemptuous ease into the quarter-finals, beating Sheffield United here by 3 goals to 0.
Hard not to feel a bit of sympathy for Sheffield United. Men of steel reduced to men of straw, if you like, and terrific performance. It was little more than a training exercise in the end, wasn't it, for Arsenal's youngsters this evening. They're into the last 8 of the Carling Cup, and I'll tell you, none of the other 7 sides will be wanting to draw this young Arsenal team in the quarter-finals. Fantastic performance yet again, and I wonder if Eduardo has played himself into the starting lineup for the weekend against Manchester United. Big travelling contingent of Arsenal fans, and they'll go home Very happy indeed. Now, mention of that game at the Emirates Stadium at the weekend. There it is, Arsenal against Manchester United, noon, Sky Sports 1 and HD 1. Spanish football for you as well. Valencia against Real Madrid, 10 o'clock tonight, Sky Sports 2. And then tomorrow, Barcelona in action. They've got a Valladolid, 9 o'clock, Sky Sports 1. Well, it was fascinating stuff to watch, wasn't it? We'll get the views of the former Arsenal striker Alan Smith when we come back. Comprehensive, really, sums up the victory of these Arsenal youngsters. Never for a moment out-muscled, never for a moment outgunned. Comfortably through.
Great Britain v New Zealand, the second test, Saturday 5:30, Sky Sports 2 and HD 2.
Driving a Blue Motion Polo instead of your normal small car for a year could reduce your carbon footprint as much as recycling over 25,000 plastic bags.
From high in the Rocky Mountains comes a taste that's as clean as glacier water, as crisp as Arctic air, and with over a century of brewing tradition. It's the light taste that's always refreshing.
And you're doing it again.
What? Coors Light. Damn, that's a light-tasting beer. Brewed to taste light.
Why gamble with your choice of online casino? CasinoChoice.co.uk helps you choose a safe, trusted and fair online casino and poker room. And as we've been recommending UK casinos since 2001, we can give you sound advice. So visit CasinoChoice.co.uk today.
Stand by.
There's a fine line between winning and losing. Sometimes, just a few millilitres.
With real wood B&Q do it, the feel of it is divine. In every room you can do it, even one's given a hard time. In halls do it, in playrooms do it, don't matter where people click, doing it. Let's do it, let's fall in love.
Over 100 wood floors, all from sustainable forests.
Go on. Oh. Good. Just watching this. Good lad. Hey, good boy. In a bit. Good lad. Go on then. Come on. Go on. Oh, lucky.
Control the Jericho Squad and lead mankind's last stand against ultimate evil.
We've been waiting an eternity.
Clive Barker's Jericho.
Every day at Lloyd's TSB, we're busy helping our millions of customers get to where they want to go in life. To join us, visit us in branch. Lloyd's TSB, for the journey.
The biggest pool tournament on the international calendar is back. 128 players and a $400,000 prize fund. The World Pool Championship, Saturday, 7:30 a.m. live on Sky Sports 3.
Everything you see is interest-free.
Not when you got a few bob on 1-0, though. Go!
Sky Bet. It matters more when there's money on it.
Well, he'd never scored a Carling Cup goal. Probably had never heard of it, in truth, before he moved from £8 million from Dinamo Zagreb. But the Croatian sensation, Eduardo, has helped shoot Arsenal comfortably into the last 8 of the Carling Cup with a little help from his young Brazilian teammate. And it's a fantastic performance. They've won by 3-0 for his 2 goals. Eduardo is the man of the match. He's with Theo Walcott, and both are talking with Andy Burton.
Theo, a victory for you. It looked relatively easy, was it?
No game's easy, especially Sheffield United. They made it quite difficult for us because recent years we haven't got the right result, but tonight we showed how strong we are and got the right result.
Did you expect a little more from them tonight?
I expected, a battle, which they gave us. But then, the first goal and then the first goal in the second half, it sort of killed them off, I think, but they never stopped. They never stopped.
Just how good is this guy stood next to you here?
Absolutely brilliant, yeah. You can tell by the first goal, just came out of nowhere. I watch him every day in training, and he showed it tonight what he can do, and it's brilliant.
And the goals help the confidence. You expect that confidence to grow?
Yeah, well, throughout the whole season we've been, even the first team we've been doing really well, and tonight we've shown how strong we are as a whole squad of players, and the goals we're scoring and the way we're playing at the moment is fantastic.
Did the early goal help you guys go out and express yourselves tonight?
Sorry?
The early goal, did it help you go and express yourselves early?
It did, yeah, really. It took them by guard, really. But it was just brilliant football. That's all I can say, really.
Having scored in the final last year and not won it, how strong is your personal desire to go one better this year in the competition?
Well, we always want to be champions. The way we're playing tonight, hopefully we'll get there, but we take every game as it comes and see where we are.
OK, thanks for talking to us. Eduardo is the man of the match tonight, the Carling man of the match. If you can do the honours with the champagne. Still learning the English, but well done. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. Cheers.
And knowing Arsenal as a club, he'll doubtless have English mastered pretty soon. In truth, Alan Smith, without this becoming an Arsenal love-in, it strikes me that, not only are the Arsenal players talented on the pitch, they're level-headed, they're articulate. You never see a whiff of scandal coming from the Emirates Stadium.
There must be something somewhere, I'm sure. But no, I think
since you left. No.
I think it's a measure of what Arsene Wenger looks into, the character of a player, as much as his ability. I mean, ability obviously comes first and foremost, but he does his homework, and he doesn't want any bad apples in that dressing room because it can sour the whole thing. And you go up there on a Friday, they do the press day, and one after one, they all come up and they all speak honestly. It's not in cliches. They've all got an opinion. They're all happy to put that opinion forward. They don't feel shackled by Arsene Wenger because he's the same. And they play with that same free expression on the pitch, Jeff. And it was a privilege to watch tonight. Absolutely brilliant.
And you've met Eduardo and spoken to him, albeit through a translator. What's he like? What sort of individual is he?
Yeah, I mean, when you think he came across, born in Brazil, came across from Brazil when he was 15 to Croatia. I mean, what a culture shock that must have been, and stopping in digs in a dormitory. He's a tough lad. He's a tough lad. He had to be out there. And he actually captained Dinamo Zagreb, which they don't give the captaincy to many foreigners too often. I mean, he's a Croatian now by nationality, but it's wonderful, actually, with all that exquisite, intricate approach play, to have a ruthless gunslinger like Eduardo at the forefront of it.
He's two-footed, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, his left foot's not bad, is it? He's never shuffling onto that left foot. He looks as two-footed as they come, but, I mean, that's a hammer blow, isn't it? When Van Persie and Adebayor are fit, he's not going to get too many games, but to come on and affect a game, he's perfect.
Might Arsene Wenger just be tempted to spring a small surprise at the weekend then by throwing him in against Manchester United?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering whether Arsene Wenger might bring him off last 20 to save him for Saturday, or in the end he got injured, Eduardo, and he did come off. But I don't know. I mean, in the form he's in, he's a great option to have, but whether Wenger might just stay with what he got and played so brilliantly at Anfield, you couldn't blame him for doing that. But Eduardo, he is that fox in the box. He gives them something different. He's just a natural, clinical finisher.
Yeah, 34 goals in 32 games his last season in the Croatian league. It was the most that had been scored in that league for 15 years. You can see why, can't you? Lovely ball through by the boy as well, who's making his debut today, Kieran Gibbs.
Panics there a bit, doesn't he, Eduardo? He's just naturally keeps a cool head. I mean, not the best of defending, but you can see he's just shifted in between the two centre-halves and gets into that position. Never looks like he's going to miss. Absolutely brilliant from him. Good night's work. And just to top it off, you know, it was a lovely finishing product for all that lovely approach play they had.
Shed fortune in the third goal with Denilson looping off Chris Morgan's backside.
Yeah, it did a bit. And in the end, it finished up the other side of Ian Bennett, didn't it? And you thought, he's the keeper at fault. I mean, they back off. He's even got time to shift it onto his right foot. And in the end, Bennett looks a little bit foolish, but the way the ball's move these days, you can see it moving in the air, and in the end, he didn't have much chance with it, actually, the keeper. But Denilson was one of the other stars as well. I mean, a few contenders for man of the match. You know, Denilson, Gilberto. Bentner, I thought, played a key role as well. I mean, so many great performances out there.
Yeah, I think Arsene Wenger's going to be pretty content this evening. Let's find out if he is. Here he is with Andy.
Arsene, with the greatest of respect to Sheffield United tonight, did you expect a little bit more from them this evening?
Well, I felt we made things difficult for them because we scored an early goal, and then we were very good to keep the ball, and that made it very difficult for them. I think they did fight until the second goal went in, and even they did fight onwards, but the belief went for them.
We spoke yesterday about Eduardo. You said he needed a goal and a run in the side. He's got the goals.
He's got the goals, and in fairness, they played all well. And it's very difficult to say one player of our team didn't play well. We were dominating tonight and outstanding technically. And you could see the difference in one side, Sheffield, the confidence is not at the highest at the moment, and in our side, the confidence is high, and of course that contributes to make a difference as well.
What in particular impressed you about Eduardo specifically tonight?
First of all, that he took his first chance and put it in the back of a net. That's always a quality for a striker, and he looked sharper than 3-4 weeks ago, and technically played very well as well.
How convinced are you that he can fairly quickly transform his international form here to Arsenal?
Well, you know, we do not put any pressure on the timing. We just know that when a player comes into the Premier League, it takes more or less 6 months to really adapt, and if it lasts a bit longer, it lasts a bit longer, but you see that the quality is there. That is the most important.
Were there any other performances that stood out tonight?
Well, I must say from the keeper to up front, I would say through, of course, Gilberto, who was an outstanding leader in the side. Everybody did well.
You mentioned the keeper and Gilberto. One of the issues tonight was asked about why Gilberto wasn't the captain but Fabianski was. Can you explain that?
Because I didn't involve him from the start of